let's do this. So I came up with this framework right here, which is a story selling framework. And it's basically six key pieces, right?
Okay.
The very first is that we're going to assume familiarity. And you can read here. It says approach conversation assuming familiarity. Remember, you're writing to your best friend. So what that means for me is that I drop the salutation. So there's never going to be a dear Justin, happy Monday, right? Like I just don't talk to my friends like that. So I don't see why I would talk to my audience like that either. I think that in this day and age, like we need to realize that most people know that the CEO of a company is not sitting down to write an email to 4,500 people individually every morning, right? And when we actually respect our reader and understand that they're not stupid, like we can just have a conversation with them. The other thing that I do is that I use contractions whenever possible. And that's in an attempt to write how I speak. So I'm not going to say could not when I could say couldn't. I'm not going to say I have when I could say I've, right? Like I'm just going to talk like I'm going to write like I normally speak, unless I want to use it for cadence, right? If it's going to make more emphasis, if it's going to sound better in the sentence by splitting the words up, I'm going to do that. And like I said, I never ever use their name, which a lot of copywriters just kick back. They're like, no, you're supposed to use the name as much as possible. It's, a human being's favorite sound to hear is the sound of their name. Yeah, when you mean it, right? Like, I can't remember the last time I wrote an email to someone and in the middle of the copy was like, right, Justin? Like, I just don't do that.
You know what? The other awesome benefit to this is, I don't know, you've probably never done this, but I've sent out emails where it's supposed to like change out their names and it doesn't. And you've got like hashtag first hashtag and it's like, sorry about that.
Yeah, exactly. And it makes you look awful. And not that we care about what other people think of us, because we're all doing the best that we can with what we've got. But it's like, if you can avoid that altogether and just be real. Like, I think the problem that most of us fail is that we think we're supposed to be more or better than we are. And you don't, right? You really don't, because it's in our imperfections that other people can find themselves and be like, oh, he's just like me. Like, he'll get it. He'll understand that I don't have all my I's dotted and all my T's crossed, right? Like, it's okay. So that's, I think, it totally helps avoid that. Number 2 is that we're going to create a curiosity-based pattern interrupt. And all this means is when you're talking about your headline or when it comes to emails, your subject line, you want to create something, like you want to pretend like you're the National Enquirer, right? Like you want people to be at the checkout line and be like, what? Like, Brad and Angelina have 12 children overnight? Like, what does that even mean, right? And so you're looking for them to reach out and grab it, not only stop them and go, huh, but have them be curious enough to open it and read what the article says or the message says. Because you can have written the best message ever, but if nobody clicks on it, nobody's going to read it.
Yeah.
So you want to cut through the noise of their inbox, because we all have a million emails. Like I just had one come in right now, right? We all have email that's coming in and it just becomes white noise. And so you want to be able to cut through that and grab their attention enough to where they'll click. Number 3 is going to be hooking your reader immediately. I say here that the first line is written so that people will read the second line, which is written so that people will read the third line. About the third line of text, if you've done a good job of setting your hook, they're going to read to the end no matter how long your piece is. But what I say here is that, like, we've got to start with high drama. Like, this is, I don't know if you've ever seen Swordfish, where like it starts, the movie with John Travolta, it starts and there's this bank robbery, right? And there's just like cars are running everywhere, like money's getting thrown, there's guns, and you're like, holy crap, what is happening right now? But you have no idea where they are, who the characters are, who's the good guy, who's the bad guy, but you're hooked, right? And so this is how we want to open our stories. It's high drama. For me, I do a lot of like, I remember when XYZ was happening. And it just like you're just in the story all of a sudden, right? Or I'll start it with a quote like, you're so fat. And it's like, what? And it's like, I couldn't believe that she had said that to me, right? Which brings us to number 4, which is then you have to fill in the backstory and tell your reader, why do they need to pay attention, right? Like, okay, like this is how we got to this bank robbery. This is why this lady's telling me that I'm fat, or whatever is, you know, the story that you're telling them. And this is where you're really going to use your words and you're going to guide their epiphany. So you're going to take them from one side of the bridge where they have no idea who you are, what you're talking about, or why this message matters to them. And you're going to take them across and be like, this is what I learned through this experience that brought me to this place where I now understand XYZ, right? Number 5, and this is what's really, really hard for the talking heads and the influencers and the gurus out there, is that we're going to give our reader the win. I will never write a piece where I'm like, and because I told you this story, you now understand the blah, 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 blah. Nobody wants that, right? Like, I want them to have the win. I want them to feel good for having been smart enough or proactive enough to find this piece of content, to find the answer to their question, to understand something. And so we start using inclusive language when we're delivering the message, right? We're going to say, like we know, or as we understand, like this is about us coming to an epiphany or an understanding together. Like, I'm not just talking at them, I'm having this conversation with them. And so this is really kind of a magical piece that gets overlooked a lot, because this is the piece that keeps them coming back for more, right? Because now whenever they read something from you, whenever they click on your email, they're feeling good about themselves because they're learning, they're growing, they're understanding, they're entertained, they're like empowered to become the version of themselves that they most admire and that they have challenges consistently showing up as, right? But you're there cheering them on day in and day out, saying, hey, I struggle with this too, but like maybe this will help you. And so they keep coming back for more. And what's really great about this is that this is what, you know, Stephen Larson would say is that hit of dopamine where they feel great about themselves, they keep coming back. And as you nurture the audience and they're trained to click on your stuff, when you do put a sales sequence in front of them, or you do put an invite to your event in front of them, they're like, hey, I know, like, and trust this person. I always feel good when I read stuff from them. So like, I'll probably feel good if I buy this or if I go to their event, right?
Yeah.
And then the next thing, and step number 6, is just, it's super simple. And I've said it so many times already in our conversation. I don't like talking at people. I like having a conversation with them. Mm. And so asking them to tell me about it, the call to action is always a reply. Hey, have you ever experienced anything like this before? Like, tell me about it. You know, like, are you in a situation like this that you think I might be able to help you with? Tell me about it, right? Like, hit reply and let me know. And that's basically how I structure a story selling email.